Fine. So I hope you got yesterday's recording. Fine. So today we will see how to write dynamic scripts. Okay. I'll create a new Java project. Right. I'll call it as day 3. Fine. And whenever you create a project and you have to write Selenium code, you need to right click on the project, go to the properties and go to Java build path, and you have to add external jars. Right, add all the jars in the lib, also all the jars which are there over here. Okay, now suppose I tell you that fine, write a dynamic script which will work on all the browsers. Right, so I'll write over here a dynamic browsers. Fine, so suppose there is a variable, right, that is string browser equals to Chrome. Then your whatever script you are writing, okay, that script over here should work on Chrome. If I change this browser to Mozilla, so this script should actually work on Mozilla. So a common sense, or the first idea which we get is that you can use if else statements, that you can use, right, that if the browser is, you compare it with dot equals, okay, if the browser is equal to Chrome, then you can create the object of Chrome driver. Okay, so like we did yesterday, right? So fine, and else if the object is of the type Mozilla, okay, then you create the object of Firefox driver. Okay, and similarly, if the object is of the type Edge, if the browser is of the type Edge, then you create the object of Edge driver. So common sense would simply, or whatever knowledge we have till now, that will tell you this thing. But is this the right solution? Suppose if I have to interact with the web page and I have to click on a link, then I will have to write the code to click on a link in Chrome over here, in Mozilla over here, and in Edge over here. So is it the right solution? I will have to write the code separately for each and every browser. So the answer to this question is no, we don't do this. Okay, the answer comes up from the concept of interfaces in Java language. Fine. So what are interfaces? Right, let us study that. Right. So interface is something which gives you an idea about the system. Okay. For example, you open a website. Fine. You suppose open, say you go to bbc.com. So the website bbc.com is like an interface for you. Okay, it tells you that what is the news and all everything, but how this data is being loaded, what team is working behind to make sure that you get the right news. Okay, you are not aware of that, right? So the interface basically tells you, it gives you an idea about the system. Fine. Okay, the interface of this website just gives you an idea that what this website is about. Basically it's about news. Fine. Now in Java also you have interfaces. Fine. So you create a new, say, interface over here, and I'll just name it a very simple interface, say animal. Now what are the features of an animal? Okay, so it can run, it can eat. So in interface you define the methods, but you don't declare the methods, just declare the methods, you don't give their bodies. So you just say that fine, these are the functions or features of the animal, right? And it's just that anybody looking at the interface can understand that what the system is about. Okay, interface gives you a basic idea that what the system is about. This animal interface gives you an idea that basically what an animal can do. Fine. Suppose I create another class known as, say, lion. Okay, now lion is an animal. Alright, so what we do in Java is that we write over here like this: implements the animal interface. So this lion class will go and implement the animal interface. Fine. So you get an error over here because if a class is implementing an interface, then it's mandatory for that class to implement all the functions of the interface. Out here, lion class implements the animal interface, so it's mandatory for the lion class to implement all the functions which are coming from the animal interface. You move the mouse over this error and click on add unimplemented methods, so run and eat would come up over here. Fine. And you can print, say, lion running. What is the use of interface? Implementing the interface. Okay, I'm just coming over to that in some time. Okay, lion eating. Even if I remove any one of the functions, I will start getting an error, because if the class is implementing an interface, it should implement all the functions from the interface. This @override sign is known as an annotation. Okay, this @override is technically known as an annotation. Alright, so similarly I will create one more class known as, say, cow. The cow class is also implementing the animal interface. You move the mouse over the error and say add unimplemented methods. So both the methods will come up over here as well, and you can write cow running and so what we did, okay, technically what we did, we created two classes which were implementing the interface animal. Fine, both these classes implemented the interface animal. In the interface animal, this is the interface animal. I defined two methods, run and sleep. So both the classes which implemented this particular interface had to implement both these functions, run and sleep. Okay, now what is the use of this system? Why did I create the interface animal? I could have simply created two classes, cow and lion classes, and I could have simply written two functions in those classes. The advantage is that it gives a structure to the whole system. Okay, a discipline to the whole system. If you have more classes coming up tomorrow, more animal classes, then all the animal classes will be implementing the interface, and all the animal classes will have definitely have these two functions. But these two functions will be implemented by them in their own ways, right? But these two functions will surely be there in all the animal classes. And just by looking at the interface, if someone comes up and looks at the interface, he will be able to easily judge that what is being done by the animal classes. All the animal classes would have these two functions. I hope you are getting my point. Right. So how Selenium is made is that if you look at the official documentation of Selenium, then whatever is written in italics is an interface. It's not a class. In documentation, on the left side, whatever is written in the italics is an interface. For example, you have a mouse over here. So technically, mouse is an interface. Alright, and it's got functions like click, context click, double click, mouse down, mouse move. And these are the two implementing classes in WebDriver, in Selenium WebDriver. Okay, event firing mouse and remote mouse. Okay, now similarly, if you scroll down, you will see like we saw yesterday, WebDriver. So WebDriver is technically a interface in Selenium. Okay, so basically if anybody asks you what is WebDriver, so basically WebDriver is an interface. And all these classes which we saw yesterday, Chrome driver, Firefox driver, iDriver, Edge driver, Safari, Opera, okay, all these classes are implementing the WebDriver interface. So basically all these classes would have same set of functions, right? If you look at this WebDriver interface, then it's got functions like these. Close will close the browser. Find element will go and find an element on the web page. get title will give you the title of the web page. Okay, so these have got this particular interface has got functions which can which can help you do some operations on the browser and all. Okay, so that means hold on, where is the yeah, that means if you are creating object of Chrome driver or Firefox driver or Edge driver, the functions in these three classes will remain the same. Right, it is something like this. Okay, I'll just go and create a new class known as test, and over here I create the object of cow. Okay, and I create the object of lion. So if I look at the cow class functions, I'll get eat and access to the run function. And if I look at the lion class function, I will again get functions like eat and run. The function names will remain the same, but the classes, the implementing classes are different. So when you run this, it first prints data from cow class and then from lion. Right. So similarly, if you are creating object of Chrome driver or Firefox driver or Edge driver, the functions inside these driver classes, the names of the functions will be same. For example, if I want to print the title of the web page, I can print Chrome driver dot get title. So this will print the title of yahoo.com page. And on Firefox, if I have to print, I will write a Firefox driver dot get title, same function. If I have to navigate to yahoo.com, we use the get function, same function to navigate. Okay, and similarly Edge driver dot get title. So basically the function names, they remain same. But does this solve our problem? Is this thing solving our problem? That is, we had to write a dynamic script which could work on all the browsers. Okay, and you know, this thing over here is not solving the problem, but because we are writing separate piece of code, although the function names are same, but again we are repeating our code again and again and again. Right, so what is the solution to this? The solution again comes up from the concept of interfaces. There are two advantages of interfaces. The first advantage is that if you have an interface, then all the implementing classes will have the same function names. We saw one advantage. There is another advantage that I'm going to talk about right now. Okay, so what happened? Just a minute. Yeah, so now look at this carefully, understand it carefully. At times people get confused over here. You have the animal interface. You cannot create the object of an interface first of all. It's illegal. Java doesn't allow the creation of the object of an interface. Okay, you will get an error. But you can create the object reference. Object reference is not throwing an error. Now till now what we have done is that we have created the object of the class like this. The name of the class equals to new name of the class. Now I'm going to create the object in a different way. This way. Animal A equals to, and say animal A1 equals to new line. So what I have done is that a reference of interface equals to object of the implementing class. Okay, so this line and this line, they are different. Now how is this line different from this? If you are creating the object like this, then you can access all the functions in the line class which are coming from the interface animal. Right, suppose the line class has got another function. Okay, inside it I'll write line hunting. So this function is proprietary is the own it's the own function of this class. It's not coming up from the interface. Okay, so when you create the object of the line class over here, you can call this function. Okay, if you run this, you see that line eating, running, hunting, right? Okay, but if you are creating the object like this, you can only access the functions which are coming up from the interface. Eat, run, but you cannot access the hunt function. It will give you an error. Okay, so if you cannot access the hunt function, then what is the use of creating the object like this, right? If I run this, then of course I'll get this output that eat and run functions will be printed from the line class. So the advantage of creating the object like this is that I can also write like this: animal A2 equals to new cow. So if I write A2 dot eat, right, hold on, so this will call the eat function from the cow class. But the catch is that I can make A2 now point towards object of line class. And if I write the same command a2.eat, so this will call the lion class eat function. Now this will call the cow class eat function. So if you run this, you see that. If you have any questions, please ask me. Okay, people tend to get confused at this particular stage. If you have any questions, then please ask me. Right. So you have the animal class reference. Your voice is not audible. It is completely breaking.
Now,
Hello.
hello, yeah, sir. Now,
Yeah.
sir, my question here is, why we need an interface because we are creating the classes when we are implementing the different definitions. But is still then we will have the separate functions also in the class. So is still why we need interface.
Look, interface gives a structure to the whole application. Over here, by using one handle of the interface, just wait for 5 minutes, your question will be answered, you'll understand. Just by using one handle of the interface, I am able to create the object of cow class, and the same reference of interface can point towards the object of the line class as well. Okay, it's my choice. I can say that animal interface reference A3 is null. Based on my choice, I can make A3 point towards object of cow class, or I can make A3 point towards object of line class. It's completely my choice. Okay, it is something like this, that is, till now we have created the object of Chrome driver, or we have created the object of Firefox driver, okay, right, or the Edge driver. We have created these objects. Now we know that I just told you that in Selenium, WebDriver is an interface. So instead of creating the objects like this, we can create with the reference of the interface. Okay, or equals to new Firefox driver, or equals to new Edge driver. So what we can do, we can declare our interface reference driver equals to say null, and based on my choice, okay, I can make driver point towards object of Chrome driver, or I can make the same driver point towards the object of Firefox driver or the Edge driver. Okay, so if I write any command over here, say driver dot anything, that will be fired on Chrome driver. If I give the same command driver dot anything, that will be fired on this Firefox. So I can move the driver reference dynamically between the browsers. But yes, with this driver I can only access the functions in Chrome driver class which are coming up from the interface web driver. But there are hardly any proprietary functions in these particular classes. Everything in these classes is coming up from the interface web driver. Okay, so the solution to our problem is now.
Ashish, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I have a question over here. Can the class which is implementing the interface have some like independent function on its own,
It
so
can
that we
have.
can have?
It can have. Certainly, it can have. Okay, like the line class had the hunt function. But with the interface reference, you cannot access those functions. To access those functions, you will have to create the object of that particular class only. Like I was creating the object of line class to access the hunt function. Okay, but in Selenium, the way they have made it is that everything in the class is from the WebDriver interface only. Everything.
Okay,
Okay,
got it. Thank you.
so out here if you look at the dynamic browsers, so I don't need to write the code like this. I'll remove this. Okay, and declare WebDriver driver, and based on my choice I can make driver point towards any particular driver class object. Okay, so this driver can point towards Chrome driver or Firefox driver or the Edge driver. Fine. So whatever functions are there are now common for these drivers. So once the driver is initialized and you are out of these if else blocks, so now over here driver will be initialized, and you can call the functions, say driver.get http yahoo.com. Okay, so you are declaring your driver over here to null. You are initializing your driver, and then after reaching the yahoo.com you give the command driver.getTitle. So you don't have to repeat your code basically. Okay, so using if else blocks you can initialize the driver to the respective implementing class. So I hope you understood what interfaces are basically and what is the actual use now, that why do we need an interface. If interface would not had been there, I would had been creating the objects of the driver classes separately and writing the code for each browser separately. Okay, now you can simply write a single set of code, and if you have to say click on a link over here, so the code can click on the link. So if I run this code, you will see that it will open up Chrome. Hold on. I hope everybody also got yesterday's recording. Fine. So see that. Pardon?
Sir, I did not get.
Okay. Can anybody paste the link in the chat if you have the link of the yesterday's recording? So this is, you see that it loads Yahoo, and similarly you can change the browser name over here. If anyone can paste yesterday's recording link in the chat, it will be good. So if I just change the browser name Mozilla over here, so this is just going to open up Firefox now and perform the same actions. Okay, so this is how we build a script which is dynamic and works on all the browsers with the help of interfaces. Now you see it opens up Firefox and it will take you to yahoo.com. Fine. Now what if you have to interact with the elements on the web page? Okay, if you have to, after the website is open, you have to click on a link, type, or basically interact with the web page. So that I won't take in this class. Okay, I took a shorter class, I know. Okay, but I'll take that in next one. Right, that's because I need time at stretch for that. Okay, now anybody with any questions, anything regarding